Hello, so before I started doing whatever this is I do now, I was a chef. I was a chef for about 20 years. So you probably worked out as a woodworker, I love tools. Well, as a chef, I love tools as well, mostly knives. I've got quite a collection of them, but there's only a few I use on a daily basis, so I've selected those. At the moment, I'm just storing them in a drawer, so what I need is a knife block for them. I've got a bit of sapele I can make it out of. So the first job is to determine what the maximum length I'm going to need the bits to be, and then I can get it cut down to that size. So my plan is to cut these into a series of wedges that they're going to stack together to make the knife block. So to cut the wedges, I'm going to need a jig. So to make a jig, I've got a scrap of 18mm MDF. So I can get this put on the table saw against the blade and get the fence moved over to it. I can determine how thick I want each wedge to be by looking at my knife handles. On my bit of MDF now, I can mark where I want the taper to start. I'm going to start it at 2 centimeters or 20mm and go down to 5mm. This shape now is cutting out, and I think the best tool for the job is the bandsaw. The sapele now fits into that wedge nicely, but I don't feel confident pushing this through the table saw. I want to be able to clamp it into place. So what I've got is a block of wood that's going to be slightly shorter than the sapele, and I'm going to use that as a clamping block so I can get that screwed into place. I've cut down a couple more scraps of wood, so they're going to go on top of the shorter block, sit on top of the sapele, then I can get them screwed down and hopefully they will clamp this in place enough. Okay, I think I'm all set up. This block's also going to give me something to hold on to as I push this through. So let's give this a go. That worked great. So now I'm just going to flip the block around and keep repeating this. Like most of the time, when I started this project, I wasn't really sure how it's all going to work. Well, I still don't, and I've been feeling my way through, but this jig worked far better than I ever imagined, and these came out fantastically. Now, I need spaces between them for the knives to go on. So what I've got is another bit of sapele, and I'm just going to rip this down to slightly thicker than my thickest knife blade. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the mitre gauge as a stop block, and then I can push the bit of wood up against the mitre gauge, then set the fence, make a rip, and then keep bumping the fence over so that the waste is always on the other side of the blade. So the knife needs to go on the wedge, and then a thin strip needs to go either side of it. So now I need to cut these thin strips down into even thinner strips. Just going to get a little bit of glue on these strips and get them put into place along the edge of the wedges. Now they're going to be hard to clamp, so I think I'm just going to whack in a few little nails to hold them there. Okay, one down. So even though I've got loads of knives, I'm going to stop at 5 layers of this, so I'm just got to keep going now. For the last one, I have the bits on either side like normal, and I'm going to put a third bit up the centre so I can divide it so I can get 2 paring knives on it. All these now need gluing up into a wedge. Now this is going to be hard to clamp up, but luckily I overcut the wedges, let's just say on purpose, so that's going to mean I can clamp up a square block. I've got them laid out in the order I want, so that the biggest knife is going to be at the bottom and then the paring knives at the top. So now I can get glue applied to all the levels and get them sandwiched together. The extra wedges can now go on, and I can try and get these lined up as best I can and get some clamps on. Okay, that's nicely clamped up, so I'm going to leave that, I think, now overnight to dry, and I'll see you tomorrow to finish it. This has been left overnight, so now it should all be nice and dry, so I can get the clamps taken off. And now, so this will need all trimming off nicely, but I think I'm going to do first, or what I'm going to do first, is sand it and get the sides flat. So sides are flat, but ends are a bit rough still, or very rough. So I want to put a curve on both ends. So continuing with the kitchen theme, I'm going to use a sieve and draw around both ends, and then it's over to the bandsaw. I've given the curved surfaces a sand down, and now I need to get some finish on it. So again, keeping with the cookware theme, I've got a baking tray that I'm going to put this in, and then I've got some pure tung oil because this stuff is food safe. I put it in the baking tray because obviously I've got all these slots that I want to fill up. So I'm going to pour this over it, and then the baking tray will catch any excess. This has had half an hour for the oil to soak in. Now I'm just wiping off any excess and then going to leave it overnight to dry. Finish is all dried on this now. It looks rather nice this way up, but this is the way up it's supposed to go. So now we can get it filled up. So that's it all done. Really pleased with how that looks, and it's going to tidy up my kitchen. So thanks for watching. Thanks to my patrons, and please subscribe for more videos.